is open for you right now at 977-1070. Maybe you have a suggestion. Maybe you've seen some money being wasted that we don't know about. We want to hear from you. You can even use a pseudonym if you wish. The Schilling Show will be back with Jim Stern right after this. And you are with the Schilling Show, weekdays from noon to 2. It's the place to be, and I'm so glad that you're joining us today and each and every day. Today we're talking with Jim Stern. He's chair of the Albemarle Truth and Taxation Alliance about this problem with the Albemarle County budget, and really a lot of it is a process problem because there should be checks and balances in the system which are largely non-existent or at least ignored. And so let's go to the schools and talk about some of the places where there are problems. You mentioned before that the Board of Supervisors is very lax in its oversight over this huge hunk of money that they're handing to the schools every year.
It's over half of the budget, and they just hand the money over to the schools, and they say, there you go. Mm-hmm. And we trust them to watch that part of the budget. But nobody's looking at it. When Dwayne Snow says, I'm going to vote for this $600,000 tax increase, and the reason I'm doing it is because the schools need money. Yet the same school people were in front of him a few months ago with their $8 million overage. And so they were over budgeted last year and the year before and the year before and the year before. They're always over budgeted. There's always extra money. They've taken the school bus cost away from the schools and put it into the general budget. So that's more money for the schools. Yet he votes for this increase when they should have had money taken away from them to be balanced and then added back from there.
You know, Ken Boyd and I had this conversation on the air a couple years ago, and I think it was a few years back when Brian Wheeler was still on the school board. But he was talking about all of these pots of money that the schools have that they take and they squirrel away so that they can do a lot of frivolous things or that they just wouldn't be bothered in being fiscally responsible. And yet Ken knows about it, so maybe Ken voted against the budget. I don't know. It's not reported widely how some of these votes go. But we know this. You're saying it here on this program right now, and yet we had Dwayne Snow and a couple of Democrats vote along with raising $600,000 out of the pockets of Albemarle County taxpayers. What's wrong with this picture?
I don't know why the Rodney Thomas and Ken Boyd both know what's going on, seem to understand it, and vote and ask questions that are probing during the meetings. But then you go ahead and Dwayne Snow, I'm not sure what it is with Dwayne, because Dwayne has been given the information. I said at the last Board of Supervisors meeting when I spoke, I sat there and watched a supervisor being told by a school board member, and that it was Dwayne Snow, exactly where the budget overages were going to be and what money was being taken and how it was being shifted around. Yet he walked away from that meeting and said, we've got to do something about this, and then voted last year to increase taxes and then voted again this year. So there's either no understanding or no desire to be going up against the people that will be out there. And after seeing what's happening with the one supervisor, everything's being hijacked anyways. There's no time to focus on these things because you've got this circus going on that distracts everybody. And so there is no focus on the budget this year.
I'm very concerned as I watch all of this that things are spinning out of control. And we talk about the schools. You know, I think about this Crozet Library, which I think was just an atrocious overspending. If we look at the trends and how people are using books, there was no reason to build a library of that size because the trend is changing. We're going to electronic books, which take no space, no physical space to store.
Absolutely.
And so when I look at the schools and they're saying, well, we have to do all of these things and all of these infrastructure things, I'm thinking, you may not have a long-term vision here. The way that we educate our kids out of necessity is going to have to change also. And all of this massive infrastructure, which is going to become almost impossible to support because of the financial realities. And yet I don't see anybody talking about that either. And it's not that hard to see that what we're doing right now is getting very poor results and is not sustainable.
Well, I support the police and law enforcement more than anybody at it as an organization does. When we saw the $1.2 million or so dedicated to the fire range, and I predicted this is not going to happen. Look where you're building it. Look who the neighbors are. They won't let it happen, and we were right. So that money is now caused more problems. It won't get spent on that range. Who knows what money was actually spent because we'll never get an accounting for that. but we never get an accounting for anything from the county after the fact. You get this budget and what it's going to be spent on, but then they just apportion things as they feel like throughout the year and then take that extra money and put it into libraries. Oh, there's not going to be enough money for the library, but we'll take it out of this $10 million overage from last year. That's where the money came from. And they go ahead and spend it on what they want to spend it on.
This almost strikes me, if not illegal, as being highly unethical and a very bad practice at the end of every year to take these huge budget surpluses, and they don't like to use that word. They call them overages or some other euphemism for surpluses. And then they sit down. Somebody goes in the back office here and says, here's how we want to hand this money out at the end of the year. Boom, boom, boom. It's all gone. You know, I'd like to see that, and maybe this wouldn't be practical, but I'd like to see it every year put back against the tax rate. You got $10 million here, we're going to just give you a $10 million tax rebate right across the board out of this surplus money because you have no business keeping surpluses. If you want to build a surplus in, then you tell us up front you're going to do it and what you want to use it for.
Last year, my one newsletter on that covered exactly that. We should have started at 67 cents, but we didn't because we left that $10 million overage and started at a point that was too high.
It's dishonest. At the very least, it's dishonest budgeting because all of the things that are competing should compete at the same time. If you want money for the Virginia Organizing Project or some other pet project of Ann Malik's or Dennis Rooker's, then you know what? Go get in line with everybody else, have the discussion. But to be handing out all this money and all this cash, distributing it freely at the end of the budget year, and they can get around all of these discussions, it is dishonest at best.
And it's inherently unfair to the poorest communities that don't go and represent themselves. It goes to the people with the loudest mouths in the richest communities, and that's where all the money goes to.
Tell us, Jim, if people want to get involved with ATA, how they can do so, either volunteer-wise, what are your needs, or how they can support you financially.
You can get all of the information at albemarletruthandtaxation.org. Also, my phone number is on there. You can sign up for the newsletter there. And I will give out my phone number. It's 434-960-9506. And anybody that would like to volunteer, we can use the help.
In our remaining minute, let me just ask you what it is that we should be doing right now, today, and in the coming weeks as they're just getting ready to finalize this budget.
Not let the smoke and mirrors, distract you, and especially what's going on with what I call, bread and circus. We're going to hand out money here, and we're going to have the circus with Chris Dumler going on, and that way everything's distracted, and this can all happen behind the scenes. You need to still voice your opinion, and Dwayne Snow especially needs to get an email from every one of you going, what are you doing? When you're not paying attention, you're just doing what makes you liked rather than what is the right thing for the whole community.
Yeah, it's a dangerous way to govern, and I've seen many people who do it that way. It doesn't lead to a good place. Jim Stern, we're so grateful for what you do with the Albemarle Truth and Taxation Alliance. You and I will continue to have these conversations, and we'll have you back very soon. Visit him online at albemarletruthandtaxation.org, and we thank you for your organization, what you do.
Thank you.
All right, we're heading into news and weather now at the top of the hour.